This week in games, let's talk about all the layoffs happening at Bungie, Sony acquiring an AI company to make video streaming better, and more remakes than we can count, alongside our review of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is the Two Penny Gamescast. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two Penny Gamescast, episode 172. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, Connor Elliott.
Hello. Oh, damn. I have some stuffiness going on, so sorry if I come across as being a bit slow, I guess is the right word to use.
It's certainly something. Connor, you got some allergies kicking your butt right now, but other than that, how are you doing?
I've been good. I've been playing games. I've been eating. I've been drinking water. Even more so today. I've been doing basic human things. I've been playing Alan Wake 2 recently, which I'll have a review out for everybody next Sunday. My God. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be so cool.
Yeah, indeed. But at the end of this episode, we also have our review for Super Mario Wonder going to be tacked on to the end of this review. It's going to be me and Phil talking Mario. Of course, you would have already seen that review if you were subscribed to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@2pennygames, all spelled out. And thank you so much for your support over there. It was a lot of fun. Some other things on the channel: Five Nights at Freddy's movie review, where we went and saw the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. We reviewed it for your viewing pleasure, and boy, oh boy, we had some thoughts and some opinions. It was certainly a lot of fun to record. I had a lot of fun with it, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun watching it. Also on the channel right now is the Spider-Man 2 spoiler cast. Me and Phil again sitting down, talking all things Spider-Man 2. The gloves are off, so go make sure you give that a watch. That one is only ever gonna, those two videos are only ever gonna be on the YouTube channel, so make sure you go like, subscribe, and share over at youtube.com/@2pennygames. This, of course, is the Two Penny Games Cast. This is our flagship show in which me and Connor, we sit down to you every week and we give you the new news you need to know concerning the video game industry. We each bring to you two topics, two pennies, if you will, and we give you our 2 cents on them. You can get this show every Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, youtube.com/@2pennygames, or mainstream podcast services of your choice, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. So make sure you look us up, Two Penny Gamescast, on any of those DSPs. And make sure you drop down in the comments below, or hit us up on Twitter. All of our links are in the description for our Twitter and TikToks for different topics, different pennies that you, the audience, would like to bring forward and have us talk about. We would certainly like to get y'all's 2 cents on things as well. Thank you again so much for watching and listening. And Connor, let's go ahead and get right into the news this week. And once again, it's just exhausting talking about it, but we got to talk about it, my friend. We have ourselves another round of layoffs hitting the industry. This time, the titan that is Bungie, makers of obviously the Halo series and Destiny. Most recently, we're pulling a Kotaku article by Ethan Gach. Bungie blames 100 layoffs on players leaving Destiny 2. Bungie employees knew the Destiny 2 studio was struggling, but not have expected a recent mass layoff of roughly 100 staff. That's according to a new report by Bloomberg, which details a meeting earlier this month in which the studio leadership blamed poor player retention following 2023's disappointing Lightfall expansion for revenue going off of a cliff. The money Bungie was bringing in was reportedly running 45% below projections for the year. Despite an initial spike in concurrent players on Steam, Destiny 2 has struggled in the weeks and months following the release of its cyberpunk-infused Lightfall expansion. Bloomberg reports that the final shape, which Bungie has been hyping up as the climactic conclusion for Destiny 2's current storyline, was getting good but not great feedback internally. As a result, the decision was made to delay it from February 2024 to June in order to try to win players back. Extraction shooter Marathon was delayed as well to 2025. In the meantime, Bungie ultimately decided to lay off roughly 100 employees, or about 8% of its 1,200 headcount, Bloomberg reports. As for shared by Forbes writer Paul Tassi earlier today, employees are receiving 3 months of a severance and health insurance, while other benefits run out on November 1st. It's important to note, benefits run out on November 1st. This was published on Tuesday, which was, what is the month before that? Tuesday, October 31st. So make sure we keep that in mind there. And while bonuses will be prorated for the year, those with shares from the 2022 Sony acquisition that haven't yet vested will lose them. Sony, for its part, will also appears to be cutting costs across its studios. Quote, "Today is a sad day at Bungie as we say goodbye to colleagues who have all made a significant impact on our studio," Bungie CEO Pete Parsons wrote on Twitter on October 30th after the news broke. Quote, "What these exceptional individuals have contributed to our games and Bungie culture have been enormous and will continue to be part of Bungie long into the future." The tweet has since been ratioed, with some commenters calling the remarks tone deaf and asking the executive whether he had taken a pay cut before deciding who to lay off. Bungie has so far declined to comment on the situation. Bungie has, however, put out an official statement on their website, bungie.net. Our path forward. This is on November 2nd, 2023. This has been one of the most difficult weeks in our studio's history. As we've parted ways with people we respect and admire, we've spent the week supporting one another, including those who are at the studio, as well as friends and colleagues who no longer are. We want to acknowledge the feedback and concerns you have about Lightfall and recent seasons, as well as your responses to the reveal of the final shape. We know we have lost a lot of your trust. Destiny needs to surprise and delight, We haven't done this enough, and that's going to change. To us, the path forward is clear. We need to make the final shape an unforgettable Destiny experience. We want to build something that will be regarded alongside the best games we've ever made, a fitting culmination that honors the journey we've been on together for the past 10 years. Forsaken, the Witch Queen, and the Taken King, these are the standards we aim to live up to. We are intensely focused on exceeding your expectations for the final shape. Destiny 2 has more than 650 dedicated teammates pouring all their energy and expertise into delivering the epic moment and its subsequent episodes. In the weeks ahead, you'll be hearing more from us about what's next on the short-term horizon, beginning with our next season in late November. Afterwards, we'll begin to unpack our team's bigger, bolder, and brighter visions for the final shape, as well as the bridge we plan to build to take us all out of this darkness and into the light. See you, Starside, the Destiny 2 dev team. Connor?
Yeah.
Listen,
another week of layoffs.
Yeah, there's not a lot more that we can say that hasn't been said about every single layoff that has hit this industry all year. This has been, at least on the development side, one of the worst years in gaming to date. Even though the game releases have been phenomenal, everybody's breaking all these records, everybody's making all this money, there's still not enough money to go around in order to keep everybody employed and healthy and happy on the development side, which is really, really disheartening. If you are someone who is into game design and wants to join the industry, I don't understand how you can look at any of this and feel any type of hope and feel like you can find a secure career in this industry as of right now. I want to talk a little bit more specifically and focus on the benefits running out on November 1st, layoffs happening on the 31st. What is happening here? That is one day where your benefits are still allowed. That is absolutely ridiculous, especially because so many of these people, have lives and have things going on. They obviously can't plan for layoffs and being affected in this way. Nobody wants to plan for things like this. And to just give them a single day of their benefits outside of severance and health insurance is fucking ridiculous. It's greedy, it's money grubby, and it's disgusting. And I think if you even take a step further, Sony has recently acquired Bungie. You have to wonder if maybe this was part of the issue, because Bungie said when they were acquired, their acquisition by Sony will not lead to layoffs. Well, here we are, not even a year later, or barely a year later, and 100 people are losing their jobs.
When it comes to the job security of people in the games industry, you can't really trust those at the heads of companies. one of the only exceptions to that is Nintendo, and I always think about them when these stories come out. It was back in 2013, 2014, where Nintendo executives took pay cuts, some of them up to 50%, to offset the fact that their company wasn't doing that well, and they didn't have any layoffs. And now look at Nintendo now. They bounced back from it. No longer is that an issue. And, Kotaku asked them, why didn't you, why did anyone take a pay cut? Was that considered? Was that done? No response, which is a response in and of itself. 45%, of a loss to a DLC is hard, and there's going to be some setbacks due to that. But it's instantly put off to the workers, as you pointed out, a day before their benefits came out, which it seems planned. It's kind of ridiculous to think that's just chance, and that's kind of what you've been seeing, especially with these acquisitions. You see these acquisitions, maybe it'll be 2 years, maybe a year, maybe a couple months, and then you see layoffs happen. And this is just another example of that. Workers just are getting the shit stick this year, more than they've ever had before. That's saying something.
But, I mean, Connor, you say it feels planned, it looks like it was planned. I would argue it absolutely is planned. When you become an employee of Sony, you get shares of the company. They give you shares, but you have to be with the company for a certain number of years before though you can use those shares, before you can sell those shares or partake in them in any way. They just kind of sit there under your name. I believe it's 5 years you have to work for the company before you can gain access to those shares. It's been a year or two. So none of these Bungie's employees have been able to use their shares, and for the 8% of people laid off, losing their vested shares, those shares don't go back to Sony, they go to Bungie. So it's Bungie executives profiting off of these layoffs. And that is disgusting. That's awful. That makes me just feel so gross about this, and it hurts so much to see. The Lightfall didn't hit the mark. A lot of the fans didn't think it was a very didn't see it as a very like a huge quality example of an expansion, and that's unfortunate. But it happens to the best of us. You can't be shooting at 100% all the time, and to be an executive, to be in a leadership position at a company this big with over 1,200 employees underneath you, you see these things coming way before they happen, and you can plan and you can set things in motion to where these things don't need to happen. A pay cut is one thing, but also just being smart about some of the business decisions you make. Like, you have chosen, instead of taking a harder route for yourself and making it easier for your employees, or ensuring that your employees can stay on, you decided that their lives meant less to you, and you would rather lay them off and send them out into the world where they may have nowhere to go, instead of making the choices to keep them employed. You have decided that their livelihood is lesser than yours, and you can take a pay cut. They can't. It's disgusting. 45% drop after Lightfall than what was expected. Yeah, that sucks. But also, was Lightfall... I don't remember and I don't recall. Certainly Lightfall had quite a marketing push behind it. They definitely wanted players to come back and play it. But it didn't seem to me like it was ever going to be on the level of the Taken King or the Witch Queen or stuff like that. It definitely seemed like a smaller, just another expansion. And certainly just in the early days of how they've been marketing the Final Shape, that one seems to be the one that is like, hey, come back to this one for right now. Like, come back and see this one when it's time. But now I have no faith that they're going to do it, because you're clearly not giving the employees the resources they need, whether that be time or money to complete this. And then now that, we've lost a substantial percentage of our employee base because of this, it's going to be even harder to get the Final Shape to actually work and come together the way you want. Let alone Marathon. Let alone any other work that Bungie's been doing as the tip of the spear in Sony's games of service model plans that they've been doing. So now you have to sit there and wonder, Connor, is Sony just automatically screwed? Because if Bungie's the one coming in and axing things like the Last of Us Factions game and saying, hey man, this one's not working, we need to scale back and find the fun in this. Well, they're not making it work either over there. So is this model poisonous to Sony's structure? I've always said games as a service model can work, but you have to have the team and the specifications and the expectations in place in order for it to actually become successful. You can't just force it on these studios whose experience and background is not in this model of game design. And so now you have to sit here and wonder, Destiny is the big one. Destiny is the one that has made it work for years before games as service was even really a thing. They are the ones who paved the way for this to be, and it's been one of the most successful, probably the most successful next to Fortnite, which we're also seeing a dippage in player counts for, and that's why Epic laid off a ridiculous amount of people just the other week. Where are we going with this? Like, we're not taking care of the people who trust us to take care of them, and it's making the entire industry worse.
One of those people, I mentioned to him before we started the podcast, Michael Salvatore, who co-composed basically everything that Bungie is known for. Myth, their old game series, going on to Halo. He's worked on Destiny, the entire Destiny lineup, and he was one of the people that was axed. These people who helped create the company, get it to where it was today, just to be casually tossed out. I mean, are you going to tell me that the current CEO of Bungie, can't even remember his name off the top of my head. What's his name again? Pete Parsons. Do you think he's as important to the company as someone like Michael Salvatore? I doubt it. Or the number of other people who actually know how to make the games. Because he can sit here, get the big paycheck, be the executive, the CEO, but that doesn't matter when you're talking about things that create art. Those people are the ones that fund it, but they aren't the ones who keep it going. They're not the ones who are going to allow companies and games like Destiny to survive. And yet, to hit on it again, no pay cuts from what we know. And, it's probably reasonable to say they never did take one. And that's because they're greedy. Greed is the ultimate motivator of a lot of these people. And we see this here.
And it just reads in the fact of how this all went down. Again, with no warning. There's never any warning, even though they know well in advance that it's coming. And then they cut you off a day before your benefits renew for the month. They strip you of your stock and of your shares, and you just have to sit there and wonder, like, man, why did we do this? Why are we in this position? Like, it can't be because you just didn't see it coming. Now, granted, like, things happen, economies go up and down. There are times where, hey man, we were blindsided by this one thing and it didn't work. But now, like, you're sitting here and telling me that, like, Bungie, we're going to use you as the tip of the spear to form our games as service branch in the PlayStation ecosystem. And then they have a 45% player drop off in expectation, or at least what they expected their player counts to be. Like, you can't get it right all the time. And to put all of this weight on Bungie's shoulders, like, you're just already seeing the cracks, and they've barely started the job. We don't have a games as a service game out from PlayStation, even though they've been talking about it for years at this point. And so now you just have to sit here and wonder, it's like, man, not only is what is Bungie doing, what is Sony doing with this? Like, it just feels like we're just consistently going down the wrong path. And maybe now that is it Herman Holst? It's not Herman Holst. Who's the CEO of Sony who just stepped down?
Pete Helms?
Pete Holmes?
Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
Pete Holmes.
You have to sit here and wonder, it's like, okay, well, now we have the opportunity to correct the ship, maybe like too strong a phrasing, but I can't help but wonder if maybe we've gone down the wrong road and now we need to course correct in some way. And how many more jobs is that going to cost people?
It's Jim Ryan.
Oh God, Jim Ryan. Jesus
Yeah, I know,
Christ,
right?
we're all over the fucking place with names right now. That's embarrassing. But yeah, Jim Ryan. Obviously Jim Ryan had many successes under PlayStation, but there's also just been a lot of like questionable moments that Jim Ryan's done throughout his helm as CEO of SIE. Yeah. And now I'm sitting here wondering, man, what's the next step? Truly, because as of right now, it doesn't feel like Sony knows what it's doing.
No,
which is
I would
so
agree.
weird because last generation they had their foot on our necks, man. They could not go wrong. Like, everything they put out was a banger. It just felt like, yo, PlayStation's the place to game, the place to be. And as of right now, it no longer feels that way right now. It doesn't feel special anymore. Even though we're still getting great titles like God of War Ragnarok, Demon's Souls, Spider-Man 2, Ratchet and Clank, and more probably to come. There's still more games that look great, but we also look down the pipeline and we go, I don't know, man. Marathon is the only one in your batch of games that even looks a tiny bit interesting, and that's because Bungie is Bungie and they're great at what they do. But then you look at games like Concord, you look at games like Fair Gains, and you're just like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's the route I want to see PlayStation go.
I guess we'll wait and see what other layoffs happen this fucking year. At this point, next week possibly.
Especially because it seems like Sony has no intention of slowing down in its acquisition cold war that it's having right now. I jump over to topic number 2, my second penny of the game, and I pull a Eurogamer article by Ed Nightingale. Sony acquires UK AI company to improve video streaming. Sony has acquired iSize, a UK-based company using AI technology to improve video delivery. The company aims to deliver bitrate savings and quality improvements for the media and entertainment industry, including allowing video to be streamed at a lower bitrate and using AI to upscale to higher quality. Quote, the acquisition provides SIE with significant expertise in applying machine learning to video processing, which will benefit a range of our R&D efforts, as well as our video and streaming services, reads a press release on the acquisition. According to its website, iSize can provide bitrate savings, machine learning, and energy efficiency to video delivery. Other solutions include video processing to remove compression artifacts through AI, and, quote, live photorealistic generative 2D/3D avatar technology. It's unclear exactly how Sony will use this technology, be it for video game streaming, its Sony Pictures Core app for film streaming, or simply trailers on the PSN store. PS Plus premium members now have access to the Core app, which allows users to buy and rent Sony films from the PS4 and PS5 consoles, including up to 2,000 titles. Further, PlayStation 5 games can now be cloud streamed on PS Plus. The dashboard has since been updated to include a logo indicating streamable games.
So this whole thing is it's on what they've acquired it for. That's pretty nice. Being able to, streaming is a pain in the ass. I remember I had not so great Wi-Fi before I moved down to my parents' place, and I just didn't even bother at that point. And hopefully this will help, make those streamings a bit easier for people with not the best network and improve those that already have a good network. But this is an AI conversation, and it's kind of hard to talk about AI in any way, shape, or form without mentioning the things that it can eventually replace. We've seen some bits about writing and NPCs being able to come up with words on the fly, and you have responses to those things, which is it's cool. It's objectively cool, but you have to think about what the intention is, because this seems to be them getting into the AI sphere, learning how it works with something that's not so grand. It's just something that can't really do wrong. But is this just a little window into what the future might hold, where games are going to be made more with AI than people, because it's a cheaper way to do it? I mean, we see all these layoffs happening every single week. These game companies clearly don't care. Sony being one of them. We just covered the Bungie story of all those layoffs that took place. And this is just, I can't trust them to be stepping into the AI sphere and use it for anything other than trying to replace people's jobs. Maybe not now, maybe not, until like 5 years later, 10 years later, but I just can't help but see that it's on the horizon. So stories like this, regardless of how good they are on its face value, worry me for what it would hold for the future of gaming, particularly for those who make it. Gamers, I don't see us losing really anywhere with the inclusion of AI, but that's not who my main concern is when I hear stories like this.
Now, there are ups and downs to it, and there are things I agree and disagree with what you're saying here. I think this story specifically, AI here is not in the being used in the realm of creation. It's not being used to make assets or make games or anything like that, or write or generate art in any way, which is inherently, I believe, stealing and just kind of takes the soul out of any piece of art or anything that's created, and just kind of makes it made by a machine, and it just never hits the same. But I do feel like this is a thing that it's like, okay, well now Sony's playing with AI, and every company uses AI in some shape or form. They have to, because these games are too big to not use AI. But it just really depends on how you use it, and if it becomes a point where it's like AI is being used in replace of a human, that's when I have issues with it. There does need to be mandates put in place for things like this, to where, we're not getting into, video games and made entirely out of AI generation, because it's just not going to be as meaningful to the human experience. But this right here, I mean, yeah, this seems like a plus. Sony, I think, is making a good move here, specifically as, streaming is the future. It's coming. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And to be honest, I thought we would have been here. I thought we would have been further along in this process than we currently are. But I think we're still moving at a good pace. And there's really just a matter of time before somebody clicks it all into place and it all works. But I think this is a good business move for Sony. I think this is a smart move for Sony on the back end, on the technology side, and will benefit probably everybody involved, which is nice. But it is anytime AI gets brought up, it is concerning, and we do want to take a pause and be like, okay, well, what is the purpose we're using this for? Why are we using it? Could we use a person instead of an AI here? And that's a conversation that needs to be had on every instance, as opposed to just not a general blanket statement or blanket MO when it comes to AI. As of right here, I think this is a cool story. I think it's an important story. And in 5 years' time, we're gonna look back and be like, they used iSize here to do this, that, and the third, and that's why PlayStation Plus is now a great service. This is why streaming is a viable option for us, is because Sony took the steps to get the technology to work.
I just always fear for what's on the horizon when it comes to these guys. I don't trust them, Tavin. I don't trust them farther than I can spit.
Nor should you. And speaking of people that we probably shouldn't be trusting, but they have all of our favorite IPs, so I guess we have no choice to. Let's move on to topic number 3. Connor, your first penny of the day.
A nice old Push Square article. Sammy Barker. Are there more Silent Hill remakes coming to PS5? It's been a while. We heard word of Blooper's team, obscenely pretty PS5 exclusive Silent Hill 2 remake, but it looks like there could be more revisits to the eponymous New England suburb on the way. Speaking in an earnings call and ambitiously picking up around the web, Konami said that it has multiple remakes on the way, plural. My God. Quote, we are working on diligently Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which faithfully recreates the story, characters, and game design of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, one of the most beloved entries in the Metal Gear series, and updates its graphical style to modern graphics for the current generation, as well as remakes and completely new entries to the Silent Hill series, which gained popularity as a psychological horror game, a publisher spokesperson said, as reported by VGC. Now, it's perfectly possible this could have just been a slip of the tongue, especially considering the overall structure of the sentence above. But if Silent Hill 2 turns out to be commercially successful, we can see Konami remaking its PS2 successor, Silent Hill 3, as well. And to be honest, it'd be cool to revisit the original PS1 game as well, which is a little bit dated these days. I think you could say that for all of the Silent Hill old games, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3 specifically. So,
for sure. But there is something to that type of game design that still rings true. You go and you play the Resident Evil 1 remake, and that's a great game. Like, you have a really great time playing that game. So there is Silent Hill 2 remake is obviously not going to be in that realm. It's going to be closer to a Resident Evil 2 remake, where it's third person over the shoulder back there. I have no doubt that if Silent Hill 2 hits, if Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater hits, they are absolutely going to make more of them. The problem is that I don't think Konami has employed the best dev teams for these jobs. These are beloved titles, and they're giving them to smaller dev teams who have not necessarily proved their worth. Bloober Team has done a better job than the studio making Delta. Connor, if you could Google that for me real quick, because I'm drawing a blank right now. But the thing about Bloober Team, which is a very talented team, Layers of Fear, The Medium, so forth. These are quality games, but they don't knock it out of the park. They don't make greatest game of all time type material, and to give such a beloved title to them, man, that trailer is great. I love that trailer, but can they stretch it out and make it work for an entire 15-hour experience, 20-hour experience, however long Silent Hill 2 Remake is going to end up being? Is this the right team for the job? Who's the Delta team?
It's saying Konami. I can't find.
There's another team. They do.
Yeah.
It's like but for the most part, they've only done like porting and remasters of different games. I know that to be true. They most recently did the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection, which, I mean, it works, it functions fairly well, but there are issues with it, depending on which game you're talking about, and just overall as a collection, it felt very lazy, sort of just ported and put out, and no real love put into it. And even though I'm happy to see Konami coming back to mainstream AAA game design and game development, and stepping away from pachinko machines, you just have to wonder, like, is this going to be worth it? I hope it is. I would love it if all of these games come out and they're phenomenal and great and they're everything we want them to be. But I can still very much see the future where we're like, man, Konami just kind of shat these games out because they thought they could make better money off of it than they were making at pachinko, and that sucks to feel.
I actually have a little bit of extra information. One of the things, and this was shared a lot on Twitter by Silent Hill fans, which I will be playing the original Silent Hill 2 at least before this game comes out, maybe sooner.
You got probably like 4 years for that to happen. So
yeah, right. We'll see how long exactly. But one of the things it talks about in this list of things to amp up the game is fan favorite character Pyramid Head makes return along with a special origin story for fans to play through. This I've just seen like people foreheading themselves, not wanting this. There's some spoiler bits related to Pyramid Head that does just make you go, even if you hadn't played the games, huh? How is that going to work? Apparently, there's also doing something called they're remaking Born from a Dream or something like that, Born from a Wish, which has like it's like basically DLC that shows other elements of the Silent Hill 2 story. So they're clearly going as far as they can with it, but some of these things just people are not too excited. I don't see as much excitement for Silent Hill 2 Remake as you would expect would be with one of the, apparently greatest games of all time getting a remake. Usually you'd see a lot more just confidence in this being a good thing, but I just don't see that happening, especially with the other Silent Hill game, Silent Hill Ascension, which recently got a little bit of gameplay showcased, and it's like you're voting for things.
No. Silent Hill Ascension is actually kind of cool. It's not really a game; it's more of like a streaming experience that they're doing, in which if you watch it live, and they give you don't have to watch it like exactly live. They give you like a 24-hour window to catch up or whatever, and you can it'll end and it'll pose a question to the audience. Like the characters will be in a scenario, and it'll be like, all right, what do you want the characters to choose? And then they write around that and develop it alongside with the audience. So the audience has sort of the opportunity to help shape the canon of Silent Hill. It's a neat little experiment. I'm glad they're doing it, but would we rather this instead of an actual Silent Hill game? I don't know.
People are shitting on it. I know that. Not much fanfare for it.
Are they, or is it more of just like the Twitter verse? Because Twitter's going to shit on everything because it's Twitter.
No, it seems like it's just it's a butchering of what makes Silent Hill Silent Hill. From my understanding, it's just like one of those, like with Resident Evil, the game that's compared to the most. That's a game franchise that you know what you're getting with Resident Evil when you think Resident Evil game. It changed when it got to the later entries, 4, 5, 6, being kind of ridiculous, and to a certain extent, some of the new ones with Ethan Winter's story in Biohazard and Village, to a much better degree as far as story goes to what the other games. But with Silent Hill, apparently it just doesn't even feel like Silent Hill. Like it has the slap-on sticker, but it's just basically in a different game. Almost like they're marketing it with the Silent Hill brand and nothing much beyond that. That's the main criticism I've heard.
That's interesting. I've heard the opposite, where like people are interested to see where Ascension goes. Is what I've heard. I'm not paying super close attention to it, but I'm aware of existence, and I'm aware of people like being like, all right, well, sure, let's see where this goes. So yeah, I think that's let's figure out what happens before we put our ducks in a row. And I think any negativity towards it is just fandom not willing to accept anything new. I think Silent Hill is a franchise that needs to find a new identity in the modern day and age. Like it certainly lost its identity, and then that's why it went away. And then Konami was being Konami. And there's certainly not a lot of trust in Konami, but I would like to be more optimistic and think that this will mark a new dawn for Konami as a publisher. Do I believe they're going to knock it out of the park? Absolutely not. I think Metal Gear Solid Delta is going to be I think it's going to feel like an imitation.
Yes.
Despite how much quote unquote better it may play or more modern it may feel or how much better it may look, I just don't think it'll have the heart that the original Snake Eater has. And I kind of feel that way about all of the Konami projects going forward. It just doesn't feel like they 100% know what they're doing with their stuff. They just know that they should do stuff with their stuff because they're going to make a lot of money off of it. So I don't know. I'm hoping for the best, expecting bare
Subpar?
minimum. I'm expecting the bare minimum out of it. So, but we're gonna definitely have to find out. Speaking of remakes and finding out if all of it was worth it or not, we're gonna move on to our final topic of the day. Connor, your second story of the day. Take it away, my friend.
Well, we got an IGN article here from Wesley Yinpool, Classic Source. Thank you, Wesley. Max Payne 1 and 2 remake now ready for production. Remedy says, just a matter of time. Remedy has issued an update on its all-in development games, while stressing it's too early to comment on sales of the recently released Alan Wake 2. First up is an update on the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, which Remedy said in a financial report had, quote, progressed into the production readiness stage. We have gained clarity on the style and scope of the game, and we have an exceptionally well-organized team working on it. With these accomplishments, we are excited about the project and its future success, end quote, the studio added. Remedy is working with Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption company Rockstar under a new publishing agreement to remake the first two Max Payne games for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X and S. Remedy is handling the development while Rockstar is financing the project. The Max Payne remakes will also be developed on Remedy's Northlight game engine, the same engine used to develop Control and Alan Wake 2. Ooh. The original Max Payne games were also a result of a partnership between Remedy and Rockstar, with Remedy handling development and Rockstar Games publishing. Rockstar has handled the development of Max Payne 3. Control 2, meanwhile, continues in the proof of concept stage. Quote, the plans for this sequel are ambitious, and we have seen good progress both in the designs and in the game build, Remedy explained. We will continue at this stage for the next few quarters. We focus on providing the identified key elements before moving to the next stage and scaling up the team. Condor is a 4-player co-op spin-off of Control to be co-published with 505 Games. This has progressed from the proof of concept stage to the production readiness stage, Remedy said. Quote, we have acquired valuable insights into developing service-based games and are now in a better position to create a game players can engage with for years, end quote. And finally, codename Vanguard. Remedy is defining the next stages of the project with its publisher Tencent. Quote, at the time, the project is aiming towards completing the proof of concept stage by the end of the year, end quote. Vanguard is a free-to-play, cooperative PvE shooter that combines Remedy's narrative expertise and action gameplay into an immersive multiplayer experience. Remedy boss CEO Tiro Virtala said all 4 projects, none of which have release windows, will benefit from staff moving on from Alan Wake 2. As for the hit survival horror sequel, Virtala said that due to the fact it only launched last week, quote, it is too early to draw conclusions on the game's commercial success. It is clear, however, that fans and critics have appreciated it, giving the game a strong basis for good long-term sales, end quote, he added. In our 9 out of 10 review, Alan Wake is a superb.
Yeah. IGN. Okay, cool. Remedy is in an interesting place right now where it really feels like they are on a groove, man. They are knocking it out of the park. Back-to-back Game of the Year contenders, it seems, is the consensus on Alan Wake 2, and then, of course, Control was a phenomenal game as well. I'm very excited to see a sequel for Control, personally. We are having our Alan Wake 2 review next week, but I have enjoyed what I've seen of Alan Wake 2 so far, and I'm excited to see more from Remedy. Remedy is like, we talk so much about, how the consolidation of studios and how art in gaming is kind of, being bottlenecked into just a few type of things. And Remedy is one of those dev studios that they are so willing and ready to get weird. And they live in that space of like, yo, like, we're going to be a cool video game and it's going to be fun to play and it's going to be a good time, but we're also going to be really artsy with it and give you some stuff that you've never seen before. And maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but you can't say we're not one of the most interesting game development studios in the world. Sam Lake, head of Remedy, I believe, and lead creative director, I believe, on Control and Alan Wake 2 and the last couple of games, has I think elevated in status to one of some of those like more niche game directors and so forth that we love so much. You think of early Hideo Kojima stuff. You think of oh god, it's left my freaking mind. The dev studio behind Beyond Two Souls and Detroit Become Human, David Cage. Sort of in that era, obviously seemingly way less problematic than David Cage, but like Sam Lake seems to be the guy that David Cage wants to be. And I'm really, really enjoying seeing it. And to see Remedy like, hey man, we're gonna test the waters, we're gonna try some new stuff, we're gonna do some things. Them sort of gearing themselves towards more of a service-like game is interesting. I don't know if I really want that from Remedy, but I'm more than willing to see what their take is going to be on it. Remedy seems like a studio to me that isn't going to put out something that they don't believe in. Of course, they're owned by Tencent, and if Tencent wants something, they're going to get something at the end of the day. But I think Remedy is definitely talented enough on the gameplay side to make something that's going to be really fun and really entertaining. Whether it's going to work as a games of service thing, who knows? To speak to the Max Payne remakes, yes, please, thank you. That would be awesome. Bullet time action stuff in the same engine as Control and Alan Wake 2. Oh my god, that's going to be so much fun. There were so many cool physics and visual effects in Control, and it was so fast paced and fun to play and running around and doing sick ass stuff with your powers. Yeah, that game's going to be awesome.
There's a character in Alan Wake 2 named Alex Casey, who is voiced by James McCaffrey, who had done the Max Payne voices. So they're still keeping him in-house, which I found to be very cool. But yeah, I love Max Payne 3. I actually played it pretty recently, and the gameplay could be a bit stiff, but overall it was an extremely fun experience. And Remedy getting control of it, I think would work wonders. I've, in my recent week of playing Alan Wake 2, have started craving for more Remedy games. I played Alan Wake, the first one before then, and now I want to play Control. So to also see so much more Control content on the way, it's something they clearly care about. It's not really a spoiler, but I'm interested to see if they do anything with their world that they seem to be crafting. It's
universe, yeah.
Yeah, the universe. Yeah, I don't know if it'll come to any kind of fruition or it's just stories that are going to happen at the same time and have some kind of similarities or references to one another. But they've become one of the most interesting developers in the market right now. I mean, before Alan Wake 2 came out, when we were predicting what would be nominated for Game of the Year, we were like, I had mentioned that Alan Wake 2 could be the dark horse. It could be the one that really jumps out. And while I don't know if it'll be Game of the Year or it'll be a nominee for Game of the Year, it certainly could be. After the reviews came out, people clearly loved it. And Remedy's just on fire, as you said. And I'm looking forward to how they do these Max Payne remakes. Because those games, they look like they're still fun to play, but visually they're extremely outdated, pretty barren from what I've seen. So it'll be nice to get more detail in those regards with this new gameplay, similar to the gameplay that Remedy makes with things like Control, which I've only heard amazing things about, even though I haven't gotten hands on it, and hope to soon.
Yeah, Control is their best playing game. That game is so sick in the gameplay department. The story is cool and interesting, but it kind of gets a little crazy or whatever, especially in the second half. But yeah, Control just feels so good to play. Jesse Faden is such a fun character to play as. There was a lot of really cool stuff in Control, and I'm really excited to see more, and I'm really excited to see how sort of those lessons that they learned in the development of Control can translate to a game like Max Payne. Always excited, constantly just excited for what Remedy has next. This is a legacy development studio that was sort of like the underdog for so long, and to see them finally just hit a stride with their undeniable gameplay design, it's it's very satisfying to see Remedy ascend in this way. So very excited. Can't wait. Hope everything comes out great. Curious about, what is it called? The Condor. Curious to see what that is. Codename Vanguard. Always curious to see what that is. But yeah, those aren't the ones that like get me going. It's the Control 2. It's the Max Payne remakes. It's wherever else they're going with this universe. That's what gets me really, really excited.
I guess the one, if I had to say something negative to say about this whole story, is it makes me feel that they're putting too much on their plate with all they've got going on, which could be a great thing for keeping those them busy, but you can also see some instances of overworking going on.
Yeah,
that's Remedy hasn't had issues in the past, from my understanding is, but those kinds of things could lead to layoffs as well if none of those projects work out the way they want to. Because even though you have a chance to put out more numerous amount of titles, it increases the chance of one of them flopping, which is going to be a back end. It's going to hurt the developers, which with Control's the kind of quality they've been putting out, it's unlikely, but you got to always have those reservations in this day and age of the gaming industry.
Yeah, it seems like right now Remedy understands what they are. They understand their place in the industry, and it feels like they're always making the right decisions. Going back to Alan Wake and getting that IP that they're most known for after such a smash hit in Control. Because remember, they did Quantum Break at the beginning of the Xbox One generation. That one didn't really pay out in the way, but they were doing some really interesting stuff in it. And I love the way Remedy plays with live action FMV with in-engine cutscenes and all that. It seemed like they didn't quite have the formula right for Quantum Break, but they've certainly got it right with Control and Alan Wake 2. And for them to reach back and go to Alan Wake 2 after, it being dormant for so long and that game, developing such a cult following, was a really smart decision from both an artistic and a business perspective. And so it's really interesting in that way. Now, Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes, I don't expect these are going to be huge undertakings. Of course, game development is hard and all game development requires a lot of work. But I'm not getting the sense of like a Final Fantasy VII remake or a Resident Evil 2 remake level of change here. It feels more like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 type scenario that we're getting, where it's like, hey man, we're just going to remake it. We're going to make it feel kind of how you remember, maybe make it feel a little bit better. But it's going to be pretty much the same idea of what you got all those years ago. It's not going to look the best, but it's certainly going to look better. And just kind of give it some polish and some shine, which is exciting. And I think that's all Max Payne 1 and 2 need to be. I don't need a new gameplay experience out of Max Payne 1 and 2. I just need some refinements and some, an easier way to get to it and so forth. And now that they're kind of cycling their way through, Control as a series, Alan Wake as a series, they're certainly catching a groove, and I'm very excited to see what happens next with Remedy. But I do sympathize with your point. They do seem to have a lot on their plate. I think it's hopefully that they're just strategizing business-wise, and that they've set up a number of projects that they're going to get to as they get to it, and they're going about it in a smart way. And I hope it's not like Telltale, where Telltale was like, we're going to get deals with everybody, and we're going to crank out these games as fast as we can, and we're going to crunch the hell out of our guys, and QA is not going to be up to snuff on a lot of these projects. You think back to how, Batman was barely running. You think back to how undercooked Game of Thrones felt, and it just kind of continued from there, how, like, Telltale just kind of exhausted themselves and burnt themselves out, and what was a really cool studio became sort of I don't know if this is what we want to do, guys, like type studio. Remedy, I don't feel that way. It certainly feels like they've got a lot going on, but it feels like they're planning it out appropriately, and they're saying, okay, this game is starting to enter production. This one's still in the pre-planning phase. This one's still, sort of in the conception phase, but we're figuring it out. We're going to get there. We're going to tackle this in the way that we should. Hopefully this means we don't see in a year or two, or, in 3 weeks, Remedy be like, hey, we're laying off 20 people, or something like that. But I don't think we will.
Probably not.
I hope not. God, I hope not, because Remedy's really
talented.
Right. I really appreciate their space in the industry right now. We talked about this when Media Molecule had their layoffs. Was that last week or the week before? I can't even remember. And how it was like, man, Media Molecule is a really cool, weird, interesting studio. Remedy is also a really cool, weird, interesting studio, but they have enough AAA likings and appeal to where they can break out and be part of a grander conversation than just art type games.
Yeah. We'll wait and see, huh? We always wait and see.
Connor, you sound so miserable right now.
Funny enough, it's only gotten worse.
Yeah, it sounds tough. So, man, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching and listening. Of course, stick around if you're listening to the full Gamescast episode. We are about to jump into our Super Mario Wonder review. However, make sure you remember to like, subscribe, and remember that all of our reviews get posted on the channel early Sunday nights at youtube.com/@2pennygames as a breakout review. Until next time, have a great time. Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.
What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a 2-Penny Games review. This time, Super Mario Wonder. I'm your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend, co-host, and lead reviewer. Say hello to the people, Phil Shoemaker.
Yahoo!
Yahoo! Phil, you, my friend, have been playing some Super Mario Wonder. I
sure have, Tavin.
I have started the game, but I've only played 2 levels. And then I focused on Spider-Man, and now I'm playing Metal Gear. And boy, oh boy, I'm one trophy away from getting that Metal Gear Solid 1 Platinum, baby. It's going to be a good time. And then I'll get back to, I got to play Alan Wake, and then we'll go back to Wonder and so forth. I'll get back to Wonder before the end of the year for sure. But, Phil, I'm very excited to hear what you have to say and tell me how excited I should be to get back to Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Well, Tavin, I think you should be very excited to get back to Super Mario Wonder because it is an amazing game. I had a whale of a time playing Super Mario Wonder.
Hell yeah.
In fact, I think it might be my... I think this might be my favorite 2D Mario, to be honest. I really, really enjoyed it. I haven't played all the 2D Marios personally, but I think out of the ones I have played, this is my favorite. I just think that it does a great job of encouraging you. This is kind of, I did have this thought while I was playing it where, we talked about Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, playing in the 2-Penny Game Club, which, you can find on YouTube and watch the whole thing and see our whole list. Check that out. But I talked about in that review for Tropical Freeze that I didn't feel kind of pulled toward like trying to complete the game, like trying to get all the side stuff and everything. This is almost the opposite with Super Mario Wonder, where I know I'm going to eventually 100% this game. I feel the tug of like wanting to see all the different Wonder Flower, the Wonder Seed locations, and all the different endings to levels, because there are multiple endings to some of these levels. Some of which just be like, hey, one of which be like, hey, you didn't actually beat the level, just do it again. Which, the first time I encountered that, I was frustrated for a second, and then I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Because it's like a Bowser ending almost, where like it was like a false Bowser ending.
Interesting.
But no, I think that the music in this game is fucking phenomenal. I love it so much. The new voice of Mario, which I like a lot. I mean, it's Mario. It's just a guy doing an impression of Mario. Which I think it's a new voice for Mario and Luigi, and we haven't seen Wario and Waluigi, so we don't know if it's the same guy doing those two as well. Yeah. But it is one guy doing Mario and Luigi.
Well, that's good, because they could have screwed it up. And it would have been bad if they messed that up. It would have been bad, but they didn't, so it's cool.
But there are some moments where I can kind of tell that it's not Charles, but it doesn't really bother me. I just love the feeling of running through this level, collecting all these coins, defeating all these new enemies, collecting the Wonder Flower, seeing how the level changes, and they go fucking ape shit in this game. In terms of like everything that can change with collecting a Wonder Flower, and like the certain ways that you have to do stuff to trigger the Wonder Flower even appearing. Like you have to be thorough with some of the stuff. and that's kind of it's kind of where like when it is kind of a stickler of a game. It's a kid's game, but there are some moments that are it's like, hey, you didn't do all of this, so I'm not gonna let you get the Wonder Flower, and that's kind of where I'm at with the not giving it the masterpiece, like 10 out of 10 for us. I do think this is a phenomenal game. Like I said, I love this game like a 10 out of 10. But I just there are some moments where I'm like, oh man, I wish I could have just done all this. Like there's some satisfaction that I get out of 100% completing a level the first try. You know, it's like, oh man, I fucking did all that shit so good. I fucking nailed that. Oh, it's awesome. But you know, I also just want to talk about the cast of characters you can play in this game. I mean, everyone in there. I saw a meme on TikTok where someone was making fun of the fact that everyone's talking about how you can play as Daisy, and they say it like 8 times. Hey, did you know you can play as Mario, as Daisy in Mario Wonder? You know, Daisy's a playable character, which I thought was funny because that is what everyone's talking about. But I love that that's like a kind of way to set your own difficulty in a way. That's like the kid mode playing as Yoshi or Nabbit. Where Nabbit, I think, one, doesn't take damage, but you can still die as Yoshi and Nabbit. But Nabbit also like draws the coins in to himself, which I think is kind of neat. The only thing I've seen this online too, where people wish it was just like a thing you could toggle on and off, which I do agree with. It is kind of unfortunate that you can't just play through the game normally, like with damage and stuff like as Yoshi, because you know you can play as Yoshi but you don't get any of the transformations.
Or
he has like a different,
if my kid really likes Mario or Luigi, they can't play
right
that and get the benefits of the
One thing that is weird is if you play as Yoshi, you can basically ride your friend, which I think they showed in the marketing stuff for it. But yeah, if someone's playing as Yoshi, you can ride them.
Nice. Very nice.
So I like
okay.
I like that. Which is funny if you're like Elephant Mario or Elephant Daisy and you're on the poor Yoshi's back, you're like crushing him. It makes it kind of sad. But I love this game, and I think I highly recommend this to any platformer fan, Mario fan. This game very much deserves all the praise it's getting.
Talk to me about world and even individual level design. How complex are we getting? Is it challenging in some areas, or do they kind of keep it light for the most part?
I think they do a really good job of telling you up front how hard the level's going to be. There's like a difficulty rating that it gives that each of the worlds give you before you enter them. Some of it is very accurate because there are some very fucking hard levels in this game. I beat them because, you know, I'm a fucking gamer.
Oh yeah, pro gamer.
But, you know, I don't know when I'm going to go back to 100% this game. I definitely will at some point. This is definitely going to be one of those things that I'm going to do when I'm traveling. You know, just pull out the Switch, play some Mario. Because I wanted to play this game so soon, I didn't get the physical copy, so I just got the digital. I love like I've said before, I love the physical Switch stuff. But you know, no big deal. I'll just deal with it. But anyway, to talk about the different worlds, I felt like this game went by really fast. You know, just you know, I was just trying to get through it so I can experience everything and I wasn't going for 100% the first try, so I can make it for the review because we thought we were reviewing this game a lot sooner. But you know, shit happens.
You had several days more than we wanted, but yeah.
Yeah. Originally, when we planned this, I was just gonna do it for a week. I was gonna play it for a weekend, and then we're like, because it came out on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna review it on Sunday, but that didn't happen.
I was like, you know what? You can have a couple more days. We can get Lords of the Fallen out. You know, whatever.
Yeah, I'll give you till Wednesday. It is now Friday.
Yeah. Wednesday. Some stuff happened to me on Wednesday. It wasn't fun.
Yeah.
You know.
But no big deal. You know, we're here now, talking about Mario and how fantastic of a game it was. Remind me of the other part of the question you asked, because I feel like I kind of got off track.
I mean, I think world design.
I thought it was like some of the most creative that we've seen out of the Nintendo Mario team, you know? Mm-hmm. The one thing that, I mean, it's not really world design, but I wish there was more animal transformations. It's just the elephant, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just the apple that turns you into an elephant. But I do like that. The what's the word I'm looking for? The variety of different levels you'll get in each different world. You expect each world to have very similar looking levels, but they do a good job of like this one is you're like in a kind of cave part of this area, or it's nighttime in this level or something like that, and it does a good job of kind of spicing up the environment that you're in. Not even world to world, but level to level, which I really enjoyed. There was one of my favorite ones, as you're just bouncing on a bunch of hippos, like the entire, or I think they call them hoppos. That's another thing, is all the different enemies they added in this game. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, you hop around on a bunch of hippos, and it's like a big bouncy castle level. And but when you get to Wonderflower, there's like a big timer that appears, and there's like 3 huge hoppos that like block your way, and they keep bouncing you off, and it's like, oh fuck, I'm just trying to get past, and so you have to like kind of figure out the right timing to get to them. But you know, there's something so satisfying that I get from just running, holding the Y button down the entire time, and just jumping and landing all my jumps and all my different power up usage, and it's just so good. There's something so like it's almost like we just did the Spider-Man review, so I'm thinking of like how fluid the movement is in Spider-Man. Yeah. But like in Mario's own way, this is like the traversal of Spider-Man. You know, like I love the amount of satisfaction I get from just bouncing and just zooming through all these levels. The animations, like the art style in this game, I love. I think it just looks phenomenal. I love it. Almost looks what's the word? Like hand drawn, like someone just like sketched it all, but like kind of in a 3D kind of way.
Okay.
That's not the word I'm looking for. Fuck. Well, anyway, I just love how it looks. I think it's a beautiful game, beautiful music. There's some Wonderflowers that change the perspective that you do. Like you're it's almost like a top down perspective it goes with, but it only changes how your character moves. So it's like the platforms that were there before are now walls that you go up against.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which I thought was really cool. It was a very interesting way to kind of shift the way you're playing the level, you know. I think that's. Go ahead.
I should have let you finish that thought. As I'm watching the B-roll footage that we're using or pulling off of YouTube here, I've played more than 2 levels. I've played like 5 or 6 because it just keeps going, and I'm like, oh, I played this one too. So that's something to say that where it's like, yo, the game is flying by, and you're just loving every minute of it, and like it feels like, you know, you're doing a lot, but it feels like you're doing a little, which is like just great. Because my point to say,
who are you playing as?
Oh, I'm a Luigi guy.
Luigi? Okay, yeah. I'm Mario. So
yeah, I'm a Luigi guy all the way. So I'm playing Luigi.
I've always been like, when it comes to games where you can choose what character you play as, I'm a nerd and a loser, so I always pick like the main character. Like yeah, even like back in the day when I used to play Mario Kart, I would always pick Mario, which now I don't do that. I play Iggy. Iggy's my man.
I play Shy Guy on Mario Kart, which is fun.
But yeah, there was one thing that I was kind of disappointed in. Your only like boss enemy besides like the Bowser fight at the end is just Bowser Jr. Like none of the other Koopalings are here, which is a little disappointing. And it's also pretty much the same fight, just with different. Like he kind of just. So what happens is he kind of takes the Wonder Power, and he kind of changes what's going on in the level. Like there was one that I thought was really cool where he there was like water in like underneath the platform, and you got the Wonder Power, and he shifted the water up into like a bunch of different individual bubbles that floated around the screen. So it was almost like a lava lamp. And so you had to swim through the different like lava lamp, like water to like go through. And I thought it was really neat. I think that's probably my favorite Bowser Jr. fight. But you know, I was disappointed that it wasn't your typical like, oh, this one has Lemmy, this one has Iggy, this one is Ludwig. You know, it's that one's my I think maybe biggest disappointment is that it's not very varied as far as the boss fights go.
To kind of stay in the critique mindset right now, expound on how this game only reaches the amazing, which is a 9 on our scale, only reaches the amazing for you.
It's mainly just the stuff that I wish was there. Like I wish there was more varied power-ups. Like there's really only like 3 or maybe 4, like 4 if you count the power star. Like there's
mushroom, fire, and elephant.
Okay, I guess there's 4. I didn't count the mushroom because you basically
Gotta
start
count
with the mushroom anyway.
Gotta count.
You start with the mushroom though.
Yeah, but you don't always have the mushroom.
So there's the fire flower, the bubble flower, and
flower,
the elephant, and the mushroom and the star. So I guess technically there's 4 or 5. That's 5. Sorry.
So we just wish there was more variety.
I just wish there was more variety in terms of power ups. I wish there was more variety in terms of boss fights. I wish there was more kind of like fine tuning in terms of like kind of how I said I wish you could toggle on and off the gameplay, like being like baby mode versus like regular mode for each individual character. And also like why is Wario just in platformer jail? Like why is he only in like the spin-off games? Like let me play as Wario. Let me play as Waluigi. Like
He's a bad guy, man. You gotta play as the good guys.
But like Wario Land, the
Listen, you want to play as Wario? Go play Smash. You know.
Anyway, or WarioWare. You know, you can do that.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, shovelware crap. I've never played a Wario. I've never played a WarioWare in my life. All right, very nice. Straight to the point, Phil. We talked animations, we talked music, we talked level design. Trying to think of anything else we can get to.
There was a point to. I know I've talked the most about music in this review. There were times where I was literally like humming some of the new themes. It's been a while since I played, so I don't really remember them now. But as soon as I like go back into playing it, I know I'm gonna be like humming along and bopping, and it's like, oh yes, kind of like when we played Sunshine and we did the floodless levels, and how we were just like, like you know the little guy that was in our one ear. But no, I was having a blast playing this game.
Good stuff.
And highly recommend. Like I said, if you're a Mario fan, if you're a platformer fan, very very satisfying, very fun. Very much worth that price tag, you know.
Excellent, Phil. We had a conversation on the latest episode of the Piggy Bank. Me and Connor. You were absent for that conversation.
I was a little sicky.
We guessed or we hypothesized what will be on the Game Awards, the Keeley Show, the Big Six for Game of the Year. Now that you've played Mario Wonder, is this a slam dunk to at least be in the Big Six?
You know, see, I don't know. There's just something about the Keeleys that make me think like Nintendo isn't usually there, especially for the Game of the Year category. I know they're there. They were there for like obviously Splatoon was there last year, but it wasn't in the Game of the Year category. It was like family or like
Splatoon
Kirby and the
wasn't
Forgotten
a Game
Land,
of the Year candidate. Like
I know that's what I'm saying. It's like it's
like,
never for me. Nintendo's almost never in the Game of the Year stuff except for like Legend of Zelda. You know,
Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey.
Like
you're
Mario's
right.
Odyssey was there.
Yeah, Mario's in there.
I'm on crack. Yeah, I mean, I think this could be one of the 6. I think it could be. It's on like the bubble for me. In terms of like it might not, but
I mean really
it's in my predictions for the
we had a conversation about how there's a definite 3. It's a bit of a 3-horse race right now, being Zelda, Baldur's Gate, and Spider-Man.
Zelda,
and I think Spider-Man's right there in the conversation with the other 2. So it's really Mario is now in the conversation of like, does it hit the other 3 spots? And who do these other 3 spots go to? You think maybe Resident Evil? It seems like Final Fantasy XIV seems to be a favorite. This game, and then now Alan Wake is making the rounds on a lot of people's lists and so forth. Is this game beating out games like Final Fantasy 16 or Jedi Survivor, or maybe even Resident Evil?
You know, I'm not sure. I think the main reason excuse me. I think the main reason I'm so hesitant is the fact that Zelda is already there. So maybe they don't throw the bone to Mario here.
I mean, again,
I
but
know
it's not.
they double dipped last in 2017. I know that.
But you also remember, it's not like,
I don't know.
it's not Keeley who's doing it. It's the conglomerate of news sites and
no, I understand,
personalities and so forth.
Yeah. I don't know. It's on the bubble for me. It's in my prediction for being at least in the big six, like you said. But I think in general public, I think it might just be on the bubble.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for our Super Mario Brothers Wonder review. Thank you so much for watching and listening along with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. Keep an eye out for other reviews hitting the channel, like Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, and a Spider-Man spoiler cast at some point here in the next few days. Until next time, have a great time. And Phil, say goodbye to the people.